In this video, we're going to take a first-hand look at the hierarchy concepts that we discussed in the previous video, but we're going to do it hands-on directly in the software this time. So let me just remind you of how that hierarchy is organized. We start at the top with categories. These are broad groupings. Those break down into one or more families. Each family can have one or more types, and then finally types will have multiple instances throughout your model. What I want you to see in this video is that we can make modifications at each level of that hierarchy, and the impact will be sometimes very localized if it's an instance property versus very global as you move up the hierarchy to things like families and categories. And I'm going to start by showing you how to identify all that information in the first place. So let's get a little closer. So we're going to zoom in on this plan here. I'm going to right click anywhere and choose zoom in region. And I'm going to start right about here in the third office up and just kind of click the corner of this magnifying glass and then drag a box around the reception area and then click again, just so that we're zooming in on the middle of the plan about like so. So the first thing I want to do is show you how to identify what the category, family, and type is of any element on screen. Now, to start off with, don't click anything. I just want you to move your mouse nearby one of the objects. So we're going to move nearby this wall, and notice the tooltip that appears on screen. Now, after a moment, it will disappear, but it still persists down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen on the status bar. So in either location, the message is telling us three important bits of information. The first part of the message says walls. That's our category. Then there's a separator of a colon, and then it says basic wall. That's our family. And then there's another colon, and it says interior partition 2 hour. That's the type. Now, you'll see that information on any element you hover over. So if I change my mouse's position and move over here to this door, now the category is doors, the family is door passage single vision light, and the type is standard. What about this piece of furniture? The category is furniture, the family is chair courbouh, and the type is chair. Now, this doesn't apply to just model elements. You're going to see the same information if you hover over one of these tags. So room tags is the category, room tag is the family, and then room tag again is the type. And likewise with this dimension, and likewise with this door tag. Now, some objects like this room element here will say the category of rooms. It'll say room for the family, but then it'll say corridor 103. And then if we compare that to this room, it says reception 101. And we'll see the same thing with this dashed line here. That's going to say grid B. This one over here is going to say grid 3. Well, grids is still the category. Grid is the family, but now it's telling us the name of that element instead of the type. So in the case of named elements like grids and rooms, it's going to tell you the name instead of the type on the tooltip. But in all cases, we can also see that information by first selecting the object. So I'm going to come back to the original wall, click on screen to select it. And so we can then see that same information over here on this properties palette, and it's just organized a little differently. So we've got the category here, and then above that, we're going to see a drop down that says basic wall, interior partition 2 hour, basic wall's the family, and interior partition 2 hour is the type. Now, regardless of what you select in this case, you're going to see that information. So notice if I select a grid this time, grids is the category, grid is the family, and this time instead of telling me that's grid 3, it says that it's medium bubble. And likewise with the room. If I select the room, it's going to simply say the room's category there. Actually, rooms are an exception. So they won't tell us family and type information, but it will tell us the room's category. Okay, so now you know how to identify the category, family, and type of elements on the model, either by hovering over them or looking on the properties palette. So now let's look at some ways that we can change the elements at each of those levels. And I'm going to start with a simple room tag example. So I want you to come over here and select the tag for corridor 103. Now, this is the actual corridor here. We want to select the tag element, so the label that says the text information. Over here on the properties palette, it'll say it's a room tag, and it'll say room tag again here. This is actually a drop-down menu. So you can open that up, and change the instance properties of this tag to a different type. So I'm going to change that to room tag with area. Now notice that the area now appears beneath that tag, but it does not appear anywhere else in the floor plan. So every other tag on this floor plan is not showing the area, only the one in the corridor is. So that's an example of an instance level modification. I've decided that this tag should show the area. Okay? Now you could do that for other tags as well, but you would have to select the ones you wanted to change to make that change. So let's move up one step on the hierarchy now and make a type level modification. I'm going to switch tags for that. So I'm going to move over here into Office 112 and select this tag. Now, to make a type level modification, you use the Edit Type button here on Properties. So I'll do that. That displays this window. And let's do something really simple like turn off Show Room Number and click OK. Now notice the impact of that change. Every tag except Corridor 103 has now hidden its room number. And that's because I've made that change at the type level. So a type level modification is more global, and you can see that you don't even have to have the elements selected in order to make that change. So naturally, you want to do that cautiously, but assuming that you didn't want to see room numbers for any of your room labels, that could be an effective way to do it. Let's move up one more step on the hierarchy. Now, to get to the family level, which is the next step up, we need to actually edit the family in an environment called the Family Editor. So I'm going to keep that tag selected and click this Edit Family button right here. That's going to bring me into the family symbol, and I can actually now make changes to it. Let's select the room label. Let's edit its type. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to change to a different font. It doesn't matter which one you choose. Just choose any font that will be noticeably different. And it doesn't matter what color you choose. Just choose any other color of your liking. I'm just going to simply pick red here. So my text got compressed. It turned red. I should be able to see that difference pretty easily. I'm going to use this button here on the ribbon to load these changes back into the project. When I do, it will say that it already exists and ask if it's okay to overwrite the existing one. So I'm going to choose this option here to overwrite the existing version. And now notice what's happening. It's pretty interesting, right? This time, it didn't affect just these tags, the ones without the room numbers. It also affected this one. That's an example of a family level modification. When you edit at the family level, it will impact all instances of that family, not just the ones of a particular type and not just the ones that are selected. So each time we're moving up the hierarchy, you can see that it's having more and more impact globally across the model. Now, that brings us to category, our final highest step on the hierarchy. And to show you a category level modification, I'm going to switch categories now. So instead of the room tags, I'm going to switch over here to these furniture items. And I'm going to use furniture because it's pretty easy to tell them apart. This is furniture, it's a chair. This is furniture, it's a table. This is also furniture, that's a custom reception desk. This is another kind of chair. So naturally, we have a wide variety of furniture elements available to us. And what separates each one from one another is that they are all different families. Well, if I want to do something to all the furniture, regardless of instance, regardless of type, regardless of family, then I need to work at the category level. So I'm going to select any furniture element, it doesn't matter which one, go to this paintbrush, override by category, and what I'm going to do here is apply a solid fill pattern in some color. So you can choose whatever color you like. I'm going to choose this purple color here and click OK. And now notice the effect of that change. Every piece of furniture, regardless of family, regardless of type, is now shaded in this purple color. That's the most global and the highest level on the hierarchy. So hopefully this exercise is giving you some sense of how that hierarchy works and how important it is. As we move through the course, we're going to see plenty more examples of working at each of these levels of the hierarchy. And the more that you practice it, the more you work with it, the more it will become internalized. But it's really a core concept in Revit that you really want to make sure that you're comfortable with, because it's really one of the most powerful features of the software and certainly something that you want to be comfortable with.